Hey, Monica,
hey,
welcome.
Guys, thank you.
Yeah, great to see you. Come on this way. Welcome to Oak Orthodontics. This is our Dominion location, close to Dominion here in San Antonio, Texas.
Well, it's awesome for me because I live right up the street.
Awesome.
So yeah. So hey guys, I'm Monica and I am here with Dr. Tito Norris, owner and founder and creator of all things orthodontics and Stone Oak Orthodontics, which I am actually a patient here. Call me a patient, right?
Yes.
Patient?
Yes, you are.
Well, you're a doctor, so I am a patient.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we're doing a tour. We're going to do a tour here in his Dominion office, as well as we're going to get to know Doc a lot. I have a lot of great questions for you. I want to know about your history, how you grew up. You have so many awards and accomplishments. And of course, he's a mechanical engineer as well as all the orthodontics. So there's so much to talk about. Shall we look at your office first?
Sure thing. There's a lot of fun stuff to show you. So let's go.
Awesome.
At the front desk, we intentionally hire very bubbly, friendly people who warmly welcome our patients. And those people receive the new patients coming in, get them checked in, and let our clinical staff know that the patient's ready for their appointment. So when someone walks in our office, we want our office to be designed from a patient's perspective. And so we want the office to be, for a patient to be impressed by the freshness, the newness, the cleanliness, the lighting, and all these elements that just make them feel that they're in a modern office. So what you'll find in our waiting room is some massage chairs. You'll find charging stations for your devices, and a lot of natural light coming through the windows. So in our main clinic, we've got 6 clinical chairs, 2 of which are private chairs, so that if someone just wants a little more privacy, they can be seen behind closed doors. On the patient I was working on, we were replacing a bracket into a better position, and that involves a couple of different steps. So one of the steps is cleaning the tooth with a high-speed handpiece, and then we etch the tooth, we seal the tooth. We place the bracket with a composite resin, which is like a plastic basically. Then we use a light, a very high powered light, in order to cure that resin or make it harden, and then that keeps that bracket in the new position. So in the back clinical area, we've got a couple of different specific areas. One is an area where we take radiographs, and that panoramic, cephalometric, and a cone beam CT radiographs, and we use all of that in our diagnosis. In addition to that, we do have a photographic area, and that's where we take clinical photographs before and after treatment, as well as sometimes video that we do for special occasions. So we opened this office in May of 2019, and we are very proud of this office. We call it our Dominion location. It's conveniently located here on I-10 West, 25043 I-10 West. And we're open Monday through Thursday. And myself and my partner, Dr. Caesar, are here to serve the patients in this area.
Dr. Norris is a resident of San Antonio, Texas. He's a Texas native living here in San Antonio with his wife and his 3 children. He's enjoyed all types of sports and is in great condition, I might add. He has lectured throughout the United States, Europe, and Asia. His scientific papers have been published in the American Journal of Orthodontics and Dentofacial Orthopedics. He's done seminars in orthodontics as well as clinical impressions. Dr. Norris is devoted to creating smiles for a lifetime, which I'm really interested in. His unique background in mechanical engineering provides him with a distinct advantage in mastering the forces, vectors, and movements inherent in performing orthodontic treatment. Dr. Norris attended University of Texas in Austin, where he received a bachelor's degree with honors in biology and a minor in mechanical engineering. He was a salutatorian of his dental class at the University of Texas Health Science Center here in San Antonio Dental School. He completed a general practice residency at the VA hospital in Washington, D.C. He completed his orthodontic specialty training at Howard University, graduating as valedictorian with the highest GPA in the orthodontics department in the history of 25 years of the place. Dr. Norris joined the Air Force, thank you for your service, by the way, and served as Chief Orthodontics at Misawa Air Force Base in Japan. Here he provided orthodontic care to service members and their families. His professional affiliations are with American Dental Association, American Association of Orthodontics, board certified by the American Board of Orthodontics, and Texas Dental Association. Welcome to the Monica Brant Show, Dr. Norris.
Thanks so much for having me. It's such an honor, Monica.
Thank you. And I don't think I've ever had to use orthodontics, the word orthodontics, so many times. So
It is a tongue twister.
A little tongue twister, especially with Invisalign in.
Yeah. Well, you did great.
Did I do okay? All right.
You did great.
There's no way I could have memorized all of that. That you've just, I mean, that, and I know that's just the beginning of what you've really accomplished in your career and in your life. And so I want to go back and take our viewers back to who you were growing up, how you got started in this, and what were the influences in your life growing up.
Great. Well, I was born in Kingsville, Texas, which is a small town in South Texas. And I think Kingsville is kind of unique in many regards. We're kind of famous for the King Ranch. Mm-hmm. And at one point it was the largest ranch in the world. Some people may know it from King Ranch casserole. Others from the
we did have a King
Ranch F-Series mm-hmm. Truck, which actually I've got one of those.
Of course,
if you're from Kingsville. Anyway, no, Kingsville was unique because we had a university. Well, first of all, we had a Navy base. We had several big companies, Exxon and Celanese, and they would bring in engineers and scientists into those companies, and then we had a university. So we had people from China and Turkey and I mean just really multiple countries throughout the world. And I mean you wouldn't think about a small Texas, small town with 20,000 people in it, mm-hmm. but I really kind of grew up in a very multicultural environment, a very inclusive environment, if I might add. And I think that had a big influence on me and who I am today, mm-hmm. Just because some of my best friends were Chinese and Korean and Japanese, and I mean it was just very Hispanic, of course. Mm-hmm. So learning about those cultures and those traditions that are early in life, it was just a really neat, unique, I think, experience, and one that you wouldn't really expect kind of from a small Texas town. My father was an optometrist, okay, and then I kind of grew up in the business, if you will, starting in kindergarten, like taking out the trash and mopping and vacuuming and
it
stuff.
Was his business.
So we did that right before we went to school, because we could just walk across the street to school there. And my mom was a kindergarten teacher, and she chose to teach at basically the underprivileged school in town. And so my mom was a big influence in my life, and she chose to, well, like I said, she chose to teach at this school, but more than that, she would often bring kids home from this school, because a lot of their moms were single moms and working moms. And so some of my friends were really impoverished children and mm-hmm. Kids who really didn't have too much. Mm-hmm. And so from a very early age, I learned the value of gratitude. Mm-hmm. Because having two professional parents, we were able to have a nice home and live a nice middle class lifestyle. And I have to say that my father as well was a huge influence on me, because he was very generous in the community. Not because he did take care of basically the entire town. He was the only optometrist there, and so essentially if you had glasses or needed glasses, like, you went to my dad because mm-hmm. you knew my dad, and so he really took care of the whole town. But wow. Above and beyond that, just very generous with his time, with his energy, with his efforts, and we helped a lot of families, who just couldn't afford, glasses, and so he'd take care of those families.
Wow, that's
very
special.
So those lessons of generosity and gratitude, I think, run deep in me, and like I said, my mom was a bit of a civil rights advocate, if you will, and she had a really strong background, and she stood up to some people in a very strong way, shall we just say,
really?
In the late 60s, early 70s, okay. When segregation was still a thing back then, and she just chose to do what she knew was right.
Right. Just and people are people, and
people, right. So,
we all bleed the same color, and
that's right.
Yeah, and have the same needs, right?
Absolutely. So my parents were a big influence on me, and And I was always pretty good in math. So I entered college at UT Austin studying mechanical engineering. And I could always sort of like force myself to study. I had grit, I had determination. That's kind of how I made up for, my lack of smarts in other areas. I could just kind of outwork some of my colleagues.
Salutatorian and valedictorian.
But it wasn't until I was in college that I actually took a semester off, and I was doing what's called a co-op program, where you're working in industry. So I was doing some research on lasers there in Austin, and for the first time I had a job, and so I was making money. I had dental insurance, and I'd always wanted braces, so I got braces. I got orthodontic treatment. So I still remember kind of sitting in that chair, thinking like, wow, this doctor is really doing engineering in my mouth. He's designing forces and moments and vectors, and this is the stuff that I love. And at the same time, he has his own business. He can set his own hours, and he also has his relationships with these patients. And so I really like the social aspect of that, much more so than I felt like engineering was just kind of dry, and I was a little more of a social animal. So at that point, I decided to sort of like steer my studies more towards biology or pre-dent, if you will. And I just kind of want to make that distinction in that in order to be an orthodontist, you must first be a dentist.
Okay.
So orthodontics is a specialty of dentistry.
Okay.
And there are other specialties of dentistry, such as endodontics, root canal specialists, prosthodontics, which would be prosthesis. You could do periodontics, and that's, gum tissues. You can do oral surgery, and that's, people are pretty familiar with that. They've had their wisdom teeth, or
I had those out.
Oral maxillofacial surgery, actually moving jaw bones around.
Oh, wow.
Like so, but I just kind of want to make that distinction because, just like my wife is a family practice doctor, and so she, but as a family practice doctor, she could do anything she wants within medicine. She could go and do brain surgery. She could go and do heart surgery. She could go and, fix bones, all right? But as a family practice doctor, that's kind of beyond her realm of expertise. It's not what she spent extra years in specialty training to do.
Okay.
And so if you needed to have heart surgery, you probably wouldn't be going to look at your family practice doctor to fix your heart, would you? Okay.
Right.
So similarly, a general dentist does, crowns and bridges and fillings and these kinds of things. But when it comes to moving teeth, orthodontics, this is what I do, what I study, what I spent extra years studying.
That's funny. I'm sorry. I just never thought of it like moving teeth, but that's what you're doing.
True. That's what we're moving teeth. And so, I've spent the last 27 years of my life specifically studying this, specifically studying and doing this.
Wow.
So as a specialist, we have a lot more experience with it. And so, people sometimes ask me, does Invisalign work? And my answer to them is, well, does a scalpel work? Okay. Does a paintbrush work? Okay. I mean, is that paintbrush in the hand of a kindergartner, or is the paintbrush in the hand of someone who's been to a weekend course, or is a paintbrush in the hands of Picasso or Rembrandt? Okay. And that's all they do all day long, all their life. So Invisalign is a tool. They just like brackets and wires are all tools, right? But it really kind of depends on, who's controlling that tool and what are they doing with that tool and how are things being designed.
Right.
So I'll get off that little soapbox.
No, that's good information because I honestly did not know that. Yeah. And it's just something that is a good point to make.
Sure.
I go to see a dentist to get my teeth cleaned, and they always say, get out of here because you're not going to ever make me rich because my teeth are fairly decent in that realm.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of continuing on my educational journey, if you will, I ended up, going to dental school, and this very early on in dental school when I had my second sort of epiphany moment, if you will. And I still remember it was probably within the first month of school, and it was a dental anatomy class. And you wouldn't think that teeth are all that interesting, but the professor assigned, okay, read chapter 1, and we're going to have a quiz on it, next week or something like that. So I read chapter 1, and I was just absolutely fascinated by the fact that each of our 32 teeth in the mouth has a special form and function and design and location, and it's just fascinating. There's little subtle differences between the left and the right, and they're all mirror images of each other. They have different strengths. And so I read chapter 1, and then I read chapter 2, and then 3, and I stayed up all night and I read the entire book. And that had never happened to me in my whole educational career. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it was like, I don't know, like the doors opened and angels started singing, and I found my passion. Mm. And that is, dentistry and orthodontics in particular. And if I had any advice for your readers, it is to try to find your passion, whatever that might be. And I mean, there's certain things you can do, and certainly most people feel that they've got a certain aptitude for, the arts or the sciences or the, whatever. But once you find that passion, once you find what you love, for me, from that really seminal moment, studying was never a chore again. I never had to force myself to study because I was just hungry for knowledge, and I just really was passionate about learning more. And the more I learned, the more I realized that there was to learn. Mm-hmm. And so that really just kind of started a love affair with dentistry and orthodontics. And I feel like, having done a general practice residency where I worked as a general dentist and doing some very kind of complicated hospital type dentistry on medically compromised patients, and doing some, periodontal stuff, and doing some oral surgery stuff, and doing some stuff that maybe as most general dentists wouldn't even get exposed to. That really broadened my perspective and my horizon about, dentistry in general. And quite frankly, I think it's made me a better orthodontist because I have a better understanding of what the other specialties, are going through and need to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that helps design a better interdisciplinary approach to what we do. So fast forward, graduated dental school, went on, did this general practice residency, went on, finished my orthodontics residency. And then I was married at the time. My wife had gone through medical school in Air Force scholarship. And so she actually got sent to Japan.
Okay.
So I joined the Air Force so that I could go with her.
That's how that worked out. I was wondering, where did the Air Force, because, so many people usually do like the military, and then
to help them pay for school.
Right. And then they kind of learn their skill set through the military. And when I asked you, you're like, no, it's later. And I was like, okay, I'm a little confused, but I couldn't wait to hear that.
I joined for love.
You joined for love of heart and soul and then country.
It was, it was really a great experience. I loved Japan. I loved the people, loved the culture. And, I still have some amazing friends that I still keep in touch with all the time. And I actually, because
I'm sorry, were y'all on the same base?
Oh, yeah. That was kind of the condition of me joining, is that we were going to get assigned together.
So y'all would go work and then come back and both have stuff to share.
Right. Right. Well, we were actually kind of working in the same hospital. Truthfully. Yeah. So
high-fiving in the hallways?
Yeah. She was on the medical side, I was on the dental side, but yeah, similar. So we came, so I kind of threw myself into the local community. I learned Japanese. I was teaching English because she was really working a lot more than I was. And I was doing some research with some of the universities and just kind of really developing those relationships. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Wow. And so we came back to San Antonio, and that's where, she finished up her military career here at Randolph Air Force Base. Okay. And I opened my orthodontic practice.
Were y'all brought back here from the military, or is this where you chose to come?
Yes, and yes. So typically, if you get assigned overseas, whenever you come back to the States, you kind of get picked of the litter. And you get to go pretty much wherever you would like to go.
Well, San Antonio is a good place to be.
It is a good place to be. Yeah. And my wife is a native San Antonian, so this was a natural choice for her.
And then what about, siblings? You've had siblings. You have siblings, right?
Yeah. So that's a great story. So my parents didn't think they could have kids, so they had adopted 3 children. And then, surprise, I showed up. And then, surprise again, my sister showed up. So we were 5. My mom had then passed away when I was 13. She was 46. And then my father remarried. And his new wife had 3 children already. So then there were 8. And then they had 1 together. So it was 9. So wow. Yeah, quite the brood.
The 3 adopted ones, were they related by chance, or were they all separate individual children?
So no, they were not related. Yeah, they were just individual.
And were they from the States or another country?
No, they were all from the States. They're all from Texas.
Oh, okay.
But just
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, what a way to grow up with so many different people.
Yep.
Different ideas, different thoughts, different generations and backgrounds, and
permutations.
Were you guys close?
Yeah, I mean, in different,
ways,
right?
Yeah.
Part of it was just simply age. My eldest brother is 10 years older than me. Okay. So, when I was 8 years old, he had left.
Yeah, he was like, I'm going out.
Right. And so, so some of that was just kind of age and then, I mean, I was closest in age and also just kind of emotionally with my younger natural sister. We've always been close, and we're still the closest.
Yeah.
So
cool. You all keep in touch, like holiday stuff, and get together. I bet you have a huge group during the holidays if everyone can get together.
Yeah, I'd say the big group doesn't necessarily get together anymore, but the ones that stay close do. So.
Okay. And cousins? Are there a lot of cousins for
kids?
Yeah,
cousins. So.
Christmas, you draw names and buy everybody some.
Exactly.
That's fun. I grew up with a very small family, so I always thought it would be cool to have a big family.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's for sure.
Well, what great memories you have and growing up and just being able to, I mean, even just working in, I'll say working in quotes, as a young child with your dad's office and just kind of feeling that out and being in that, it's like you had a vision even from that back then probably of just the work ethic and caring for people and
sure.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, my father owned his own practice, and that's something I wanted to do, is own my own business.
Okay. Yeah.
And kind of set my own hours and be able to achieve a life balance and take vacation. I think my dad was another model for that.
Right.
Because he kept himself in good shape,
Mm-hmm.
and he took ample vacation and kind of sharpened the saw and I think had a nice life balance.
That's good. That's good. So tell me what it feels like, because I never have known and I'll never know what it feels like to have graduated as valedictorian with the highest GPA in the orthodontic department's 25-year history. Like, was that a shock to you, or was that like, I knew it was going to happen, or...
I mean,
because you loved what you were doing?
I knew I was at the top of my class. I just didn't know anything about the history of the school and what other people had done. But quite frankly, I was less concerned about that. I was just hungry for knowledge, and I was just voraciously absorbing.
That's really cool. You should have a sticker that says.
Well, let me just kind of give you an example. So, during our orthodontic residency program, we're supposed to start or work up 15 cases. Like, that's kind of the minimum requirement for graduation. Okay. So when I submitted my 50th case, my professor came to me and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, this is unheard of. Like, what are you trying to do? And I was like, I'm here to learn, and it's not costing me any more to submit these cases. And now I have all these 50 different cases to learn from. And I've got this faculty here that, to learn from. I'm just trying to take advantage of my education.
Yeah.
So,
they probably weren't ready for a student like you.
Yeah.
Is that professor still around? Has he seen what you've done over the years?
He's since retired, yeah.
He's probably like, okay, I see why he was on top of it.
But believe it or not, we can still keep in touch. He's a good guy.
That's cool. He probably enjoys knowing that he had been involved with your beginning and just helping guide you, I guess.
Yeah, he's proud.
That's cool. That's cool.
Hey guys, if you've enjoyed the Monica Brant Show, don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell, and if you have any ideas or suggestions for the show, comment below and I'm happy to get back to you.